Hi, good afternoon. This is Jesse from Resurva, and today I'm going to walk you through a basic setup for massage therapists and physiotherapists. So I'm just going to go over how to set up your services, your providers, and just basically go over the settings in Resurva so that you can get the most out of your setup. Anyway, let's get into it. So I've gone ahead and just gone onto resurva.com and signed up for my trial. But this is the initial screen that you'll see after you submit your information. So this is basically just the first step in the setup. So I've gone ahead. We're based in Toronto, so I've filled this out already, and I'm going to set up my schedule so that my clients can book with me every 30 minutes. And I've chosen to start my workday on, my work week on a Monday, so that will just be reflected on my schedule. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on here. Okay, so this is the services setup. You can see that we have service categories and services. I'm just going to go ahead and start with setting up my first service here. So I have some services that I'm going to just copy and paste just to save a bit of time here. But so I'm just going to go ahead and enter my first service, which is acupuncture. This is where I set up the duration of the service. So let's call this 1 hour, and let's say that it's a $90 service. Okay, save that out. I'm going to add another one here. So this is my physiotherapy service. Again, this is going to be an hour service, and let's keep the pricing consistent and save that out. Let's add another service here just to have more than two things here. So let's make one for sport injury rehab. And let's say that this is, just so we can have a little bit of a different service here, let's say it's an hour and a half and it's a 125 service. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and continue. Oops, save that out. I'm going to go ahead and continue. So I basically set up three different services here. Now, if I wanted to go further into my settings for each service, I would just click the three dots here. This is the sub navigation for each service. But what I'm going to do is just go through it, and I'm going to go back to that later. Okay, so next up is the provider setup. This is where you put all your service providers. So let's add a service provider here. So let's just say that John, let's say John offers all services. I'm going to save that. I'm going to set up another one for Kate. And I'm going to say that Kate only offers physiotherapy and sport injury rehab. And I'm going to keep going and just add Matt here. Okay. I'm going to say that Matt offers acupuncture and physio. Oops, save that out. Okay. So I've got three providers and three services. What it's going to do is open up your schedule. So this is where you would set your basic, your business hours. So let's say that we are open Monday to Friday, and we open at, let's just leave it 10 to 6, keep it simple. Let's do a short Saturday. Let's open a bit later, and let's close at, let's say, 3 o'clock. Okay, so now I want to add on my providers to my schedule. So since there's only three providers, and it's a Monday to Friday schedule for the most part, let's make everyone work Monday to Friday, and then let's add let's say John to Saturday. Okay, now if I wanted to change the hours for a provider that were different from the general business hours, so say John wanted to start work Monday, let's make him come in a bit later because he's doing this Saturday. So let's make him on the schedule from 1 to 6 Monday and 1 to 6 on Tuesday. So this just shows you how to differentiate a provider's working hours from the general business hours. So let's go ahead and continue here. So that's basically a really basic setup. As you can see, it took about 5 minutes to do that. This is where you would go online. So right now we are offline, but let's go ahead and put our Resurva account online so that we can start to take bookings. Okay. I am going to, so basically what it's just asking is to complete the contact information. Let's go ahead and do that. So this has filled in my info already based on my location information that I put in. So I'm going to just make sure that that's saved correctly. Again, on the schedule, clients can book every 30 minutes, and I'll go ahead and save that out. What I want to do right now is show you how to check your what it looks like from a client view. So I'm going to create a new, or I'm going to, in my browser, I'm going to open a new private window. Okay. And I'm just going to type in my, or copy and paste my Resurva slug into the window. As you can see, the basic setup is there. So this is what it looks like from a customer's point of view. Yeah, so you can see we have our 3 services there. Our general hours are Monday to Saturday, and we are closed on Sundays. So let's just click in one of the days. Tomorrow's Wednesday, and John and Matt are on the schedule. I clicked in, excuse me, I clicked in acupuncture, and because only 2 of our service providers offer that service, you can see that John and Matt are the 2 people that do that. So they're the only people that are available for booking. And yeah, so 10 to 6, because it's an hour service, the last available appointment is 5 p.m. in the evening. So if you want to check what it looks like, if you're working on your Resurva setup, just fine-tuning the process, and you want to see what it looks like from a customer view, you'll have to open an incognito window or a private window if you're using Safari and look at it there. Otherwise, you'll just see your admin. You won't be able to see your customer view. So that's a little trick there. So I'm going to go back to my setup here, and I'm just going to show you the overview of the extended menu in your services. So I'm going to go ahead and click the sub-nav here and just go into settings. So this is the overview of a service. You can change the booking color on your schedule so that every time you get a booking with that service, you can change the color of it so that it gives you just a nice little visual indicator of the service. So if you have a lot of services and a lot of appointments coming in, you can just get a glance. Like, the more you get used to your services, the easier it is to recognize what you have coming in, or what you have on your schedule, sorry, based on the color choice. So it's a little helpful thing there. Service cost, padding, if you need setup time, excuse me, setup time before and after a service, you can add padding here. So, if you need to change, linen in your rooms, you can do that by adding a padding. If you wanted to add 15 minutes before and 15 minutes after, you could do that, just to give you that chance to. Well, let's just leave 1 at 0 and 1 at 15. So if you need 15 minutes before a service to change stuff out, you can do that there. This is where you would add a description. So I'm going to go ahead and just add a description to this service. If you wanted to hide that from online booking but be able to add it as an admin to your schedule, you could do that by clicking this box, which would eliminate that from the widget. We're going to leave that on because that's something that we want our customers to be able to book online. If you needed to add an image for that service, or if you wanted to add an image, you could do that here. But we're going to leave that blank. I'm going to go ahead and save this out and just show you what the description looks like. So I'm going to go back to my incognito window here and just shift refresh, and you can see here that the description is visible there. So okay, I think that's good for settings. Providers, you can just see here which providers are offering that service. If you wanted to add an option to a service, you could do that as well. I don't know what a good example for acupuncture would be, but if you wanted to, add an extra service, let's say like a $5 service, this is where you would add it in your service options, and you can just make that inactive or active at any time. We're going to go ahead and leave that blank though. So I'm just going to go ahead and add in my descriptions for each of my services here. Just do that quick so we have a consistent setup. Let's leave the padding blank for this. And just go to my last service here. Okay, so my services have been updated. I'm just going to verify that that's correct here. Okay, looking good. Now this is looking a bit dull, so what I'm going to do is show you where to add a logo to your widget. Super simple. If you go to settings, settings, logo and branding. So your header image is your logo image. So I have something set up here already. I'm just going to plunk that in. And you can add a tagline if you would like, which would appear underneath your logo. I don't have anything for that, but I'm going to save my logo out. And you can see it's uploaded, but just to verify, again, I'm going to go back to my widget. And so that's what it looks like now with a logo in there. So you can see it looks a lot better. So we've fine-tuned our services a little bit. What I want to do now is do the same thing to our providers. So I'm going to go back to Manage Providers, and I'm just going to give you an overview of the options and the settings for each provider. So if I click the subnav here, I'm going to go into Settings for John. If I wanted to add a bio for my provider, which I will do here, I can go ahead and add that in here. First booking date and last booking date. Sorry about that. Redo that. If I'm John and I only want to be able to be booked a day in advance of the current date, I would set that here. So I have it set to 1 day in this example. So tomorrow would be the first day that one of my clients could book with me, and same thing goes for last booking day. So if I just want to kind of know my schedule 4 weeks in advance, or I only want my clients to be able to book with me 4 weeks in advance, I'm going to do that here. So that way, I have a month where where my clients are able to book with me. Private clients, you could set that up so that I can send my clients a code which would allow them to book with me if I'm a really busy provider and I can't handle any more clients. This is a good option where they can still book with me, but they would need a code to do that. And yeah, so that's a good option there. We have a waitlist feature, which is great. If I didn't want clients to be able to add themselves to the waitlist, I could disable that here. I'm going to leave that on just because if anyone cancels with me, I do want to be able to fill up that slot. So I'm going to leave that off. I'm going to go ahead and save that just so my bio is saved. And I'm going to go back to my demo here. Click new booking. So let's go to Wednesday, John. So you can see my bio is here. Now, if I go to today's date, which is, so this is where we set up our first booking date. As you can see, it's not bookable. So it's just gives that message that you need to book today. And you can see that it is bookable. Okay. Now, I added padding in my services, so that's why this has changed. I have a 15-minute padding, which is required for each of these services. I think it was acupuncture that we changed, so that's why the schedule, it's bookable 10:15, 10:45. Yeah, so that's why that's like that now. Let's go back to our settings though, and just keep going through it. So status, not available if I'm not on the schedule, but I'm not available that day. You can add a custom message. Again, if you need to take yourself off the schedule or you're going to be away for an extended period of time, we don't recommend that you just delete the provider. We would just make the provider inactive. That way the profile is still there. You can do a custom active from date, which if you are a guest of the business or you are going to be working for 2 months, let's say as an intern, you could essentially set that up here. So you could do a custom date from and a custom date to. So you could put yourself in for 2 months and only be on the schedule for those 2 months. You could also add yourself to the booking widget, but not be bookable, just to let people know, customers of the business know that you are a provider there. You're just not taking online bookings. So it's just a way, if you have somebody that is kind of like a fill-in but doesn't want to be booked in advance, that's where you could add that in. And this just allows the admin to create bookings. I'm going to show you how to set up an admin account for each of your providers. That's where this comes into play here. So service options. This is where you could set up a custom duration. Say John takes a bit more time to do a acupuncture session, so he likes to do hour and a half set services. Let's say, okay, let's maybe more realistic would be hour and 15 minutes. You could set that up here. So every acupuncture booked by John would be 1:15 or an hour and 15 instead of 1 hour, which is the default service length that we set up. And again, you could make John's acupuncture session, because he goes a bit longer, you could customize that. I believe it was $90 that we set up, so you could say that that's $110. So I'm going to save that out. Breaks is, I guess, self-explanatory, but if you need a lunch break and you want to be consistent throughout your week or just throughout each day of the week, then you could set that up in advance. So from 1 p.m. to 1:30, I like to take my lunch on Mondays. I would set up, I'll just set that up from today until the end of March, let's say, just why not? So you'll see, I'm going to create these breaks. So that was from 1 until 1:30 on Mondays for John. I'm just going to see what that looks like on my schedule. So go to schedule, and let's go to the following Monday. And you can see here, I didn't put John on the schedule till I guess 1 p.m. So this isn't as obvious as it should be, but 1 p.m. you can see that he's blocked off every Monday. So maybe what I'll do is go back to my providers, go to John. I'm just going to quickly set up another break here, Wednesdays from 3 to 3:30. And I'm going to start that. I'll do the same thing into March. So 3 to 3:30, there should be a break there on the schedule for John on Wednesdays. As you can see, it's here. So that's not bookable by clients, and it's blocked off on your schedule. So that's how you set up breaks. Sorry, got derailed there a bit, but I'll go back to John here. So breaks is set up. Images, if I had an image of John that I wanted to have on the widget, I would add it here. I don't have anything, saved out for this demo, but yeah, you would just add it there, and it would appear in the booking widget. So you saw a quick preview of the schedule. Why don't I go back there and just give you a little bit of an overview of the schedule. So this is your day view. These are your 3 providers and your business hours. If somebody calls you up and they aren't used to booking online with you because you've just started this and they want a appointment with John at 2:30, you would just click in this slot and enter the person's contact information. So that's my name and my number. Basically, that's it. So had I entered a email address, I would have been notified via email once that booking was added with an email confirmation. And that's how you add a service to your schedule. If I needed to move that service, I would click click the move button, then I click the appointment. It highlights it up here, and I want to move it to 4 because he called me back and had an emergency. I would just click in the available slot, and that appointment's been moved. Now, if I need to, let's say Kate needs to, go to the dentist 1 p.m. on, what day is today? Today is Tuesday, 1 p.m. Tuesday, and you just quickly needed to block off some time. You just click that tap on and off button, and yeah, super easy to block off some time. So I'll get carried away here. Yeah, Kate's not available for a couple hours there, but that's how you would block off time, and just make sure you click done. These slots aren't available. If you need to cancel a day, Kate calls in sick, I would click edit day, click your provider, turn off, and this will send out an email to any appointment that is booked that their appointment has been canceled. And you can see that they're no longer bookable. If you wanted to see a weekly view of your providers, you would change your day to providers and then choose each provider. So if you wanted to see how your staff was set up for the week, like how many appointments they had coming in, that's a great way to do it. If you wanted to change right now I only have 1 appointment in my demo here, but If you wanted to see, rather than the client list, you wanted to see what appointment they had booked, or sorry, what service they had booked, you can change that to service there. That's under view, client name, service name. So I just changed the client name and number to service name. It still has my name, the customer's name, but it just shows the service that's coming in. So that's just a preference. That pretty much covers the schedule. You can rebook clients. Well, this is a good example actually. So let's just, if you want to get more information about your customer, you would just click on the service, and you can see here there's a pop-up window that has a bunch of actions. If you need to discount that person, you can do that here. I want to discount myself $20, and you can see here that it indicates that an action needs to be taken there. I can undo that. If they don't show up for their appointment, you can mark them as a no-show. This will create a red box around their name, but what that does is it does create a no-show in your client list. If you go to client and then client list, I only have one client right now. It's a brand new account, but you can see that they did have one no-show. And what you can do is block that client from making any further bookings with you. If they do it to you twice, let's say, and you're sick of losing money, you can block that customer from booking. But let's go back to the schedule here. I'm just going to click. I'm going to undo that no-show. So I did show up. I was a bit late, but things happen. So I can view my client profile, which I did by going up to client, but you can also do that here. This just gives an overview of my bookings. I only have one, so it's not it's not populated by a ton, but it does give you an overview of their bookings. You can create a series. So what that does is, say I want to book every 2 weeks with John for my acupuncture. I can do that as the admin. I can do that for my client. If they're you're wrapping up with them for the day or for their appointment, and you're just trying to book them so that you can do it for them. You can do that here. So let's just add that in, just confirming it here. And you can see that numerous appointments were booked here. So if I was to go 2 weeks from today on my schedule, I see here that I do have that appointment that's been set up. So that's pretty handy. Jump back to today. If I need to edit the appointment, I can do that by just clicking actions and then edits, or edit booking. Yeah, edit booking. If I need to switch them up from acupuncture to physio, I can do that here. That's a good overview of the schedule. What I should do now is just quickly go through some of the other management options. POS, we have a integration with Vend POS, which is great if you are selling products, gift cards or products. You can send each of your Resurva appointments to Vend, and then Vend will save it as a parked order. Then you can open that up in Vend and continue on by adding on your products and checking them out in Vend. So that's an option. Calendars, we have a syncing feature where you can sync a external calendar to Resurva, which is great. You can push and pull your external calendar to Resurva. So if you use like Google Calendar, for example, for your personal appointments, what that will do it will block off your it'll pull your personal appointments from Google Calendar and block those time slots off in Resurva, and the other way around as well. If you push and pull, so that if you make an appointment in Resurva, it'll send that data to Google and it will block off. It'll add that service into your personal calendar, so that you're not double booking, between your work calendar and your personal calendar. So I'm not gonna connect a calendar right now, but it's a very simple process, and it's another great feature. Your booking widget, you can embed your widget into a website. All you need to do is authorize that site, and what it will do is provide a iframe code for you, and you can basically put it into any HTML page. So if you want to keep your customers on your personal or on your business site, rather than sending them to, in our example, recalibratephysio.resurva.com, say you wanted to keep them on recalibratephysio.com, you could just embed this widget into your page. So you can do some basic color adjustments to the background, the text. So it's probably not the best, but you can change the button colors as well. So it's just a way to keep some, that doesn't look very good, does it? To keep some, consistent branding between your personal brand and your Resurva widget. So notifications, when your clients book with you, they will receive an email confirmation. You can customize that by fine tuning what the language is in your notifications. So we have a canceled booking email confirmation and moved. So if your appointment gets canceled or you cancel an appointment, there's an email that goes to the provider, and if you cancel an appointment on your customer, then they get an email as well. So you can customize your notifications here. This pulls the data from the squirrely brackets, pulls the data from your Resurva, from the Resurva appointment, so that autofills based on the data from the booking. So good idea to leave that stuff there, but you can just add your own message in there as well. Clients, we briefly looked at that. We have a pretty good client list feature. We have a connection with MailChimp, so if you connect a MailChimp account to Resurva, you can have a opt-in, an email opt-in in the booking process, where you can ask your clients to be added to your MailChimp newsletter. And so that will just automatically take that email, client information and email, and send it to MailChimp. So that's a good way to, let your clients know about promotions, or just keep them up to date on stuff if you send out newsletters. Client groups is great as well. You can have let's just say you have a group of family that book with you and you want to give them a discount. You can do that as well. So I'm just going to quickly set that up. So I'm creating a client group called Friends and Family. My discount value, let's say they get a 15% discount on their bookings. I can go ahead and add a client to that list. So if I go back to client list, you can see here there's a group. Say I want to add myself to that Friends and Family. I just need to do that there. So now I've added myself to that list. Okay. Settings. So analytics as well. We have reporting, which is pretty handy. you can get a nice overview of how Resurva is working for you, but you can also, get further into it with your bookings, revenue, what services are doing the most for you, which clients are booking the most with you. Yeah, so that's a pretty good. It's pretty bare bones right now, obviously, because there's only been one booking, but that's a good feature to have. The longer you've been using Resurva, the more data you'll have. We have a booking search. This again, there's not much data to go by, but if you wanted to look at all your services, sorry, if you wanted to look at, one service in particular, see who is doing the most, the most of those services, that's a great way to do it, is your advanced booking search. You can just fine tune your business based on some of the data that Resurva is pulling for you, or just if you want to see, how much revenue a particular provider is generating, then yeah, you can get all that information in your booking search. Again, there's not much to go by. We just set this up, but yeah, the more you use it, the more helpful it'll become. I'm going to go into my app settings here. Maybe should have done this a little earlier, but okay, so this is just basic. I'm charging in Canadian dollars. We're based in Toronto. My company name, that was auto-filled when I signed up, but I'm just going to change that. It will change the, you can see here up in the top in the window, it just changed the name of the business. So first booking date is important as well. The default is just to be able to take bookings immediately. But if you wanted to change that to, let's say you wanted to book 1 day in advance, you would first click on first booking day is active, and it would be a variable date of 1 hour from the current time. So if you didn't want any last minute appointments booking with you, that's how you would set it. So you can go ahead and change that to whatever you want. Again, that's optional, but yeah, if you just wanted, let's say 2 hours, 2 hour bookings in advance, then you would change that. Just make sure it's set to a variable date. So it just, every day it creates a new, creates a new day. So if I wanted tomorrow to be my first day, so nobody could book with me today for any of my providers, or business wide, I would set that up for 1 day in advance, and each morning at 12:01 a.m. it opens up a new day, so it's always a day from today's date where somebody could book with you. If you're just opening your business, you're working on your construction of your business and it's opening in a month, you could set that up here. So month from today would be January 16th. So that's my first booking day. I'm going to just save that out to show you what that looks like. And I'm going to go back to my account here, refresh. Again, we have a variable for the service length, and that's because John was set to 1 hour 15, and Kate and Matt were set to 1 hour. So that's why that is there's a difference in times there. But let's go ahead and see if we can make a physio appointment. Now, February 2018, it's January right now. Our first date that we made the business bookable was the 16th. So it jumps right to that first time slot. So again, John has, so what I did here is I set my providers to only be able to be booked. John specifically was only bookable for 2 months, or I think 4 weeks in advance. So that's why he is not bookable there. But if I was just opening, or if I was setting up my first booking day to be a month in advance, I wouldn't, have that for John there. So yeah, that's what I would fine tune in the setup. The point of this was just to show you that the first booking day was a month from today. So I'm going to go back to that and just take that off, save that out. So right now I'm going to refresh, and January 16th. So you can see it's all bookable again. Okay. Okay, so that was first booking date. Last booking date works the same way as first booking date, so I won't spend any time on that. Services, you can allow your customers to book more than one service at a time. I'm going to enable that and just show you what that looks like. So in our case, it probably won't be too relevant, but I'll just show you. You can book, an acupuncture session and sports rehab at the same time. And John, because John is the only service provider that provides both those services, he is the only person available to book with. But so that's multi-service selection. Services. If you wanted to hide the duration of your service in your booking form, you could do that. If you wanted to show the service cost in the booking form, you could do that. I think that that's probably a good idea to do. I mean, me personally, I just like to know how much that service I'm booking is in advance, so there's no surprises. We have a group service management set up so that you can set up classes and sessions if you have a lesson or a class that you wanted to offer. What it does is it allows you to book more than one slot per time slot. So sorry, more than one customer per time slot. It may not work for this type of business, but it is an option. If you wanted to have Sunday afternoon kind of like teacher ed or something like that, you could do that with group service management. I'm going to leave that off for now, but I will leave the service cost on and just save that out and just show you what that looks like quickly. So it just adds the service cost to the booking form here. Okay, let's carry on with the settings here. Providers, manage provider splits. If you are set up where you split the income from each booking with your providers, you could manage that here by just clicking this off, and it will keep track of your split setup. So if you have 50-50 split with your providers, you could set that up and keep track of that there. Provider selection is allowed. That just enables your customers to pick their preferred provider. There is a no preference button as well for new customers who don't necessarily know your providers yet. So they can just click no preference, and it will be controlled by the listing in the providers list, which you can rearrange as well. Bookings, force clients to log in when booking. That just means that your clients will have to create a Resurva user account. This ensures that there is a real email associated with that user. So they will just have to approve, or when they first set up, they will have to log into their, they get an email sent to their email, which means that it's just verifying that it's a real person. So they just have to do that once, but then they'll have to log in each time they make a booking to your booking with you to their Resurva account to do that. We do recommend that you leave that checked on though. The rest of the stuff is, these settings are, self-explanatory. Bookings require admin approval. That just means one of your admins will have to approve each booking as it comes in before it's actually considered a booked appointment. That's a personal preference, but it just adds an extra step to the process. Booking notifications, your admins will be notified. So your providers will be notified via email when they get a new booking or a cancellation. In order for that to happen, you need to set up an admin account for each provider and connect that provider to the admin, which I will show you how to do shortly. But that's a setting that is enabled there. Bookings per day. If you wanted to limit how many bookings a person could make per day, that's where you would do that. We have a feature called next bookings, next 5 bookings. So it shows the first thing that they see is the first available slot, time slots, rather than going through the calendar. You could let them see the next available appointments. That's, again, just a personal preference. It's just disabled for now, but you could always turn that on if you wanted to. If that is enabled, they will see a calendar button as well, so they can pick the date. They don't have to pick from those 5 dates or from those next appointments. They can choose their preferred appointment time, but the first thing they see would be the 5 setting, or the 5 available appointments. We have a waiver feature where you could add in a custom waiver, which your clients would have to accept before they moved on to the final step of the booking process. So if you had an example would be like miss 2 appointments and we will, block you. They would have to agree to that before making their appointment with you. Include address, so that would be your business address in your notifications. Again, if you wanted to add that, you could do that here. Make no preference booking. So if you had this checked off, it would put the no preference at the top of the providers rather than the bottom. It's again, most of these things are just preferences, personal preferences. But it's just checked off, or it's not checked on, I should say, as a default. The indicators for notes, new clients and client groups, that is for your schedule. When you're looking at your schedule, there will be a visual little icon to show you if there is a client note attached to that client. Excuse me. There's a little star saying that if it's a new client, just so you know that there is something a little unique about that booking. We did look at the client group, which that would be indicated on the schedule as well. I don't know if I made any changes, but I'll just go ahead and save that. So that was in bookings. Conversion tracking, you can add your Google Analytics property ID just to keep or to use Google to track bookings. Payments is a big one. If you wanted to accept payment for your bookings, you could do that. We connect with Stripe. I'm just going to enable that. It'll probably just open up the Stripe. So you need to just connect your Stripe account with Resurva, and then you can begin to take payments for your services. So you could set it up where you could take deposits, or you could take full payments in advance. You could also set it up where certain clients need to pay in advance. So if they have two blocked, or if they have 2 missed appointments, or 2 no-shows, you could add them to a list where they are required to pay in advance. So you could enforce that policy as well. We do have a nice cancellation policy where you can set up it's basically a waiver where you can dictate the cancellation policy you have. So if customers cancel their appointment, inside of 24 hours before their appointment, you could enforce a payment on them it's up to you, the amount in percentage. So you could, require full payment. So if somebody cancels on you last minute, you can basically charge their card once they've been marked as a no-show. So that's a great feature as well. Again, that's all connected with Stripe. So if you have a Stripe account, you can set that up for payments. So private bookings, if this is checked on, it would no one could see your your services or your calendar or anything until they've logged into Resurva. There's some additional settings for that. Clients enabled notes. If you wanted to add a note to any appointment or any client, you could do that. I'll give you an example of that. If I go back to my appointment that I booked, just click notes here. I actually added a note, just left knee pain. So that was done today at 3:28 p.m. If I wanted to add something else, knee pain getting better. So that would just be in addition to that. So back to settings here. Where was I? Invoicing, you can set up a basic invoicing template for your customers and just email them invoicing. Detailed client information, that's for if you wanted to capture the address of your client in the booking widget. It would be in addition to the name, email, and phone number. That's up to you. Time settings, we've covered that. It's just this is set up to book on the 30 minutes. And the granular time notifications is for services, etc. If you wanted to change that from the default of 15 minutes to 5-minute increments, you would do that in time settings. The last thing I want to cover is admin accounts. Right now there's only one admin account because I haven't had any, but I'm the account holder, so my permissions are all access. If you wanted to limit the permissions of your additional admins, you could do that. Right now it's not available to me because I'm the account holder, so I'm automatically have all access. But why don't I go ahead and add an admin here and just show you how to connect a provider so that they can receive email notifications. So in order for my providers to be able to log into their account and see their schedule, make any appointments, etc., they need to be an admin. So let's just go with John, as we've been using him as an example. Let's just say that John at recalibrate physio.com. Normally this would be checked on because this is just an example email. I'm just going to leave that off. But what it would do is send an email where John could set up his password for the account. I will finish setting this up though. John Doe. Now what that does is allows me to limit his access. If I wanted to limit access to client information, or the ability to, manage the schedule and tap on and off, etc. I could do that. Now, if I did this limited access, basically John is pretty limited in what he can do. He can log into his account and see his schedule, and that's pretty much it. He will get notifications for his appointments if I connect his provider account. Now, I just want John to get his own notifications. I don't want him to get a notification every time Kate or Matt get booked. So I'm going to check this off, receive email, or check it on, I should say, receive email notifications for connected providers. And then I want to limit the schedule and management to John only. So this is going to ensure that John gets emails, and this is going to ensure that John can only look at his own schedule. So I'm going to go ahead and save those changes. John would have gotten an email with how to log into his account. Now that is the same for everyone. It's just you just click sign up. You go to your Resurva slug and then log in, or sign in. And then you would just sign in there. And then what that will do for John is it will just open up his day schedule, because he is very limited. Whereas myself, I'm the account holder, I will have full access to my account. So you just repeat that for each of your providers. And you can limit or, give them full access depending on your preferences for your admins. I think that pretty much covers it. Billing, that's just setting up your your billing profile with Resurva. It is 60 days for free, so you don't have to worry about that until you're about to run out of your trial, and then you will be taken offline unless you set up a billing profile. But yeah, that's where you would do that. You just pick your package and set up your billing profile there. Analytics we covered, client stuff we've covered, management. If you wanted to, one thing we didn't go over was custom booking fields. You can add a input field for your widget. If you had extra info that you wanted to capture from your client, you could set that up. It doesn't have to be required, or you can require it, and you can make that inactive at any point as well. So it's a good way to capture some additional info. I can't come up with anything for this business right now, but you can add that in, and it's just an extra form field. So schedule we've covered. I think we're good. That's pretty much our admin account there. If you have any questions, we are always available to help you. If you have any setup questions, or you just want us to take a look at your account to make sure that you're not missing any steps, we're more than happy to do that. You can hit us up over email, support@resurva.com, or feel free to open up a chat on our website, just resurva.com. There's a little chat icon, and we're more than happy to help you, or just give us a call at any time. Thank you for watching, and see you again.